Welcome to According to Sam, folks. This is episode 280. Thank you for tuning in. Hope you guys have had a good week. Man, it's been a great week. It's been a great week. Donald Trump has come out of the gate swinging, flooding the zone. He's hitting them with so much they don't even know what's coming at them. It's coming at them so fast. And it is a beautiful, beautiful thing to watch. The past few days have just been amazing. They have really been amazing. But I want to get into the most controversial action that Donald Trump has taken in the last couple of days. And I want to talk about the pardons that Donald Trump issued, nearly 1,600 pardons and commutations that he issued to the political prisoners, the hostages from the January 6th, setup, because these people were set up. And I want to get into this a little bit today because it is receiving, again, the most controversy, the most flack from Donald Trump's detractors, complaining, crying about the fact that Donald Trump took this action. And quite frankly, this is one of the major actions that I wanted him to take, and I'm happy that he took it, but not everybody's happy. So let's get into this. I have a lot to share with you guys today. If you don't know, if you've been living under a rock, Donald Trump gave nearly 1,600 pardons and about, I guess it was about a little bit over a dozen, 14 or so commutations, where he commuted the sentences but didn't issue pardons to people that were members of the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers that were charged with seditious conspiracy. Some of these guys that didn't get pardons, that got their sentences commuted, they participated in violence, and he felt that it was better not to pardon them, but to commute their sentences. But the rest, I mean, over 1,500 got pardons, and it's great. They should have gotten pardons. Let's start with this first clip. I have a lot to share with you guys again. Hope you enjoy the show.
The president wasted no time in his White House return, signing a record number of executive actions and issuing pardons for almost all 1,500 defendants charged in connection with the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol.
Instead of worrying about political agendas, you don't have to worry about that at all. There's only one focus: defeating America's enemies. We're not going to be defeated. We're not going to be humiliated. We're only going to win, win, win.
All right, for more on this, I'm joined by CBS News Chief White House Correspondent Nancy Cordes. Nancy, let's start with those January 6 pardons. Break down this executive order. What exactly does it do?
What it does, Vlad, is wipe the slate clean for virtually all of the 1,600 January 6 defendants. Those who are currently in jail will be getting out of jail if they haven't already. For example, there were two brothers who were just sentenced on Friday to 2.5 years in prison for assaulting police officers. They have already, as of last night, been released from the D.C. jail. There's this small handful of people, a little over a dozen, who were charged with seditious conspiracy, the ringleaders, essentially. Their sentences will be commuted. And so basically what you have here is a decision by President Trump that does not distinguish between those who were violent and those who were not. He's just giving a blanket pardon to everyone involved in what happened that day.
That's good. That's a good thing. Now, heads are exploding. Heads are exploding. Members of Congress are freaking out. Oh, I can't believe he did this. Members of the media, people in the media, oh, I can't believe he did this. And heads are, we had a campaign that this was at the center of the campaign for at least a year, maybe even over a year. I mean, this was part of the 2024 2024 campaign. This is a centerpiece of the 2024 campaign, the issue of January 6th and these pardons. And you guys lost. Why are you freaking out now? Why are you so surprised at these actions that Donald Trump took when he told you he was going to take these actions? He ran on it. What's wrong with you people? Nobody cares. Nobody cares. This was a major part of the campaign. You guys remember when this trial in New York that Donald Trump had to sit through about the hush money, and he was convicted in New York in that unfair proceeding where the DA campaigned on going after Trump. He was elected on the platform of going after Trump. And then Trump had to choose his jury pool out of the people that elected the DA to go after him. And then in the middle of that trial, when Joe Biden was the Democratic nominee, they were making January 6th a centerpiece of their campaign. This was a centerpiece of the campaign. This is when you remember when Robert De Niro, this was part of Joe Biden's campaign, set this up. Well, Donald Trump is there in court. They come down and do a press conference because Donald Trump was getting all of the press because of the court proceedings, and they wanted to get in on this, and they wanted to capitalize on some of the media and the press that was there in New York covering Donald Trump. So they bring Robert De Niro down to the courthouse with Capitol Police Officer Fanone, and then also Harry Dunn. And this was part of the campaign. This was a centerpiece of the campaign. The Biden administration, and then Kamala Harris's, or the Biden campaign, and then the Kamala Harris campaign. They made January 6th a centerpiece of their campaigns, and they lost. They lost. This is Michael Tyler. This was the comms director, communications director for Joe Biden's campaign. They set this whole thing up. This was part of the campaign. Listen to this.
We have time for a few questions if folks have.
Why did the Biden campaign decide to come here today?
Because you all are here. We've been incessantly covering this day in and day out, and we want to remind the American people ahead of the next debate, of the first debate on June 27th, of the unique, persistent, and growing threat that Donald Trump poses to the American people and to our democracy. So since you all are here, we're here communicating that message, as we will do day in, day out until the debate in Atlanta.
So they had De Niro there giving a press conference telling everybody how bad Donald Trump was. They had Harry Dunn there telling how bad Donald Trump was and what happened on January 6th. And here, let's listen to a little bit of Harry Dunn.
That day.
That day. Which day? January 6th. January 6th. That's the day.
Our democracy, to protect each other, to make sure everybody got to go home that night. That's what we fought for that day. The fight for a lot of us didn't end on January 6th, that evening when we went home. The fight still continues now. What happened that day was an attempt
that day
to overthrow an election.
All right.
Donald Trump is the greatest threat to our democracy and the safety of communities across the country.
This was
today.
before the election. Before the election, Donald Trump is the greatest threat to our democracy. That dreadful day of January 6th, that day, the whole campaign was centered around this, around Donald Trump being a threat to democracy in that day. They campaigned on it. Centerpiece of their campaign.
While chants of kill him with his own gun were echoed by other members.
We heard all
of the
this.
crowd. At that time, Thomas Civic, a man from Buffalo, New York, stripped me of my badge and my police radio, my lifeline to call for help from other officers. All the while, I continued to be beaten.
You guys,
and then
I'm sorry this happened to you, Fanone. I'm sorry that happened to you, but you guys had a $500 million budget in 2020. You had the resources to protect yourself. All you had to do is put up the fence around the Capitol, and that would have prevented a lot of things that happened. Why didn't you guys have the fence put up? Why weren't you guys allowed to use your most effective tools for crowd control? Why was the National Guard not there? I'm sorry this happened to you, but you need to be asking questions about why Capitol Police didn't protect you as a Capitol Police officer with the resources that we supply you with. $500 million in resources. But we had this debate before the election. This was the centerpiece of the election. And even Donald Trump was even asked several times in the campaign as he's running for re-election. Several times. This is just one example of Donald Trump at a town hall, CNN town hall, asked, are you going to pardon the January 6 rioters? Are you going? He says yes. He didn't say no or maybe or anything. This is a part of his campaign. He ran on this. This was part of his platform. Yes, I am going to pardon them. Take a listen. Why are people so surprised? Why are heads exploding now when Donald Trump did what he said he was going to do, what he campaigned on and won? He won. This was a major part of the campaign, pardoning these people. And he said he was going to do it, and he did it, and he won, and now heads are exploding. Oh, my God, I can't believe that Donald Trump did this. What's wrong with you people?
My question to you is, will you pardon the January 6 rioters who were convicted
Shaking his head, yes.
of federal offenses?
I am inclined to pardon many of them. I can't say for every single one, because a couple of them probably they got out of control.
He didn't pardon everyone. Listen to what he says. I'm inclined to pardon many of them, not every single one. Not every single one got a pardon. Some of them got commutations, didn't get pardons, like he says. So I'm not going to pardon all of them. Some of them probably going to get commutations. But yeah, I'm inclined to do though. And he gives you a reason why.
Of federal offenses.
I am inclined to pardon many of them. I can't say for every single one, because a couple of them probably they got out of control. But, you know, when you look at Antifa, what they've done to Portland.
Look at Antifa.
If you look at Antifa, look at what they've done to Minneapolis and so many other places. Look at
how many of them were arrested over 2020? See, that's the thing. That's the thing. They want you to look at January 6th in a vacuum, that January 6th just happened on that day in January, and all of this violence just sprung up on that day, and there hadn't been any violence in the months and weeks prior to January 6th, starting in May of 2020 when the George Floyd Summer of Love started at the White House, attacking the White House. Donald Trump was forced into his underground bunker, then almost burning down St. John's Church, attacking police officers, violently attacking police officers and attacking the people that were protecting the White House, so much so that Donald Trump had to be rushed to his underground bunker. Did anyone say, oh, I can't believe that these people are attacking the White House? I can't believe that the president of the United States has to be rushed to his underground bunker. No, they called him Bunker Boy. They laughed at him. They made fun of them. And now they're clutching their pearls. These people are clowns. These people are clowns. Donald Trump ran saying, yes, I'm going to pardon these people. I'm going to pardon them. Yes, I'm going to do that. That was part of the campaign. Fanon and Dunn and all of the January 6th. This was part of the campaign. This was part of what he was running on. The Democrats were selling it as a threat. Donald Trump says, yes, I'm going to pardon them. And Donald Trump won. He won. Kamala Harris didn't win a single swing state. And Donald Trump's running, saying, yes, I'm going to pardon these people. And now heads are exploding. Now you guys are freaking out because he did what he said he was going to do. What's wrong with you people? You people have no credibility. Nobody's listening to you. Nobody cares what you say. All of this grandstanding in Congress and crying in the media because Donald Trump did what he said what he was going to do. Nobody's listening to you. Nobody cares. What's the evidence of that? This right here. This is the evidence of that. 312 to 226. Not a single swing state was won. When you're running on January 6th and Donald Trump a threat to democracy and all this stuff, he's running on, I'm going to pardon these people. I'm going to let them out of jail. You're running on Donald Trump's a threat to democracy, January 6th and all this stuff, and you lost. So what's the grandstanding for? What's the crying for now when Donald Trump did what he said he was going to do and he won? People voted for him to issue these pardons. I voted for him to issue these pardons. This is one of the major things that I wanted him to do. So what's the crying for and the grandstanding for? Nobody cares about what you people say. If people cared about this, think about this, people. If people cared about January 6th and what Fanone has to say and what Harry Dunn has to say about January 6th, if people cared about that, then wouldn't it make sense that Kamala Harris would have won if this is a big issue to the electorate? That she would have won instead of Donald Trump? But nobody cares. That's why Donald Trump won and she lost, because nobody cares about this. Now, Fanone seems to understand that now. This is Fanone after the pardons, and Donald Trump has kept the promises that he made before the 2024 election. Now Fanone is coming on CNN. He's crying. He's mad, but he understands who's to blame. It's not Donald Trump. Donald Trump did what he said he was going to do. Fanone is blaming the right people for what just happened with these pardons and commutations. He's blaming us because we are who he has a problem with. We are who are to blame for what just happened with Donald Trump. Donald Trump's not to blame. Donald Trump said he was going to do it. He promised to do it. And then 75 million people like myself voted for him. Your problem's not with Donald Trump. Your problem's with us, because we voted for him to do what he said he was going to do in pardoning these people. And Fanone seems to understand that now. A lot of people in Congress, they don't seem to understand that. But Fanone understands that. Take a listen to him.
Michael, I appreciate you being with us. I'm wondering when you heard the news and what's going through your mind tonight?
I just heard the news from your producers a few moments ago. The only thing that's going through my mind right now is that this is what the American people voted for.
Thank you.
Donald Trump has been promising these pardons ever since he announced his candidacy in Waco, Texas.
Thank you.
The scene of one of the most notorious battles between American law enforcement and the American extremist movement.
Listen to what Fanone is saying. This should come to no surprise to anyone. Donald Trump has been campaigning on this. Donald Trump has been saying this from the beginning, from the moment that he announced his candidacy, that he was going to do what he did this week. And so listen what Fanone is saying, that this should come to no surprise to anyone. All you people clutching your pearls, crying now, this should come to no surprise to you. Donald Trump promised to do it, said he was going to do it. He did it, and then he won. He won. So, I don't understand what all the crying's about.
His candidacy in Waco, Texas, the scene of one of the most notorious battles between American law enforcement and the American extremist.
Yeah, they murdered children.
Movement.
They murdered children in Waco.
That resulted in the death of numerous law enforcement officers. Thanks, America.
Thanks, America. See what Fanone says? Thanks, America. He's not blaming Donald Trump. He's blaming us, that we, 75 million people who voted for Donald Trump on the platform that he was going to pardon these people. Fanone says, thanks, America. It's not on Donald Trump. It's on the people like myself who voted for Donald Trump. You don't have a problem with Donald Trump, people that are angry about this. You have a problem with us. That's what I'm getting at.
This feels like a betrayal to you.
Oh, I have been betrayed by my country.
That's what he says. I have been betrayed by my country. That's what Fanone says. I've been betrayed by my country, not by Donald Trump. I've been betrayed by my country.
Thanks, America.
Thanks, America.
This feels like a betrayal to you.
Oh, I have been betrayed by my country. Rest assured, I have been betrayed by my country, and I've been betrayed by those that supported Donald Trump. Whether you voted for him because he promised these pardons or for some other reason, you knew that this was coming, and here we are. Tonight, 6 individuals who assaulted me as I did my job on January 6th, as did hundreds of other law enforcement officers, will now walk free. 6 individuals who have threatened my life and who have made threats towards my family members, as well as countless other January 6th defendants who have threatened me because they see me as a spokesperson.
You are a spokesperson. You are a spokesperson. You made yourself front and center spokesperson. You mean, what are you talking about, bro? I mean, you were out front, in the campaign, out front the whole time, telling the story, trying to demonize Donald Trump, trying to prevent him from being reelected, and he got reelected. So you failed, and I'm sorry that people are threatening your life. That should not be happening. The violence that happened at the Capitol against you and the attacks against you, I'm sorry that happened. But you guys had a $500 million budget. You had the tools and the resources to prevent this. All you had to do is put up the fence. All you had to do was call in the National Guard to assist you, and that was not done. Those are the people who let you down, Fanone. Those are the people that are your enemies. People like Yogananda Pittman and Chief Son and Nancy Pelosi and the others that let you down. Those are the people that let you down. And I'm sorry that the violence that happened to you, it shouldn't have happened. And the threats that you're getting now, they should not be happening. But I mean, this violence that happened at the Capitol on January 6th, again, this did not happen in a vacuum. There was a whole summer of love, George Floyd summer of love, violence every night. Everyone remembers violence every night in every city in America, burning buildings, looting, attacking police, attacking individuals that were trying to protect their property. I have tons of video that I can show you on that. So January 6th didn't happen in a vacuum. Here's Harry Dunn. This is after the actions that Donald Trump took this week and pardoning and commuting the sentences of the January 6th participants. I want you to listen to Harry Dunn. He seems to understand it.
What more do you want me to say?
What can I say?
What can I say differently that I haven't been saying for 4 years?
I've been saying it for 4 years. I mean, what? There's nothing more for me to say. I mean, I said it all before the election. I told you guys what I thought before the election. I told you that Donald Trump was a threat to democracy, and, all the stories that I told about January 6th, I told before the election, and you guys still voted for him. You still voted for him. 76 million people, more than 76 million people voted for him. What more do you want me to say, is what Harry Dunn said. What more is there to say? We had an election on this. This was a major platform of the election, and still 76 plus million people voted for him. There's nothing more to say, is what he said.
What can I say differently that I haven't been saying for 4 years? His supporters
don't care. We don't care.
Encouragers, his enablers in Congress didn't say anything when Donald Trump told you exactly what he was going to do.
He told you exactly. Hold on.
President,
what do you want me to say?
Let me get this. He told you exactly what he was going to do. He told you exactly what he's going to do.
6 rioters who were convicted of federal offenses.
I am inclined to pardon many of them. I can't say for every single one, because a couple of them probably they got out of control. But, when you look at Antifa, what they've done to Portland, and if...
He told you exactly, this is what Harry Dunn, he told you exactly what he was going to do. He got 76 million plus votes. That's what Harry Dunn's saying here. What more is there to say? What more is there to say, really?
It's more time with him than they do their own families. So these Republican members that are scared, that's what I just wanted to make sure I said. I'm upset. It's been 4 years of us, he's off, Danny, Sergeant Gannell, who's not here right now. Sergeant Gannell would love to be here right now. We've been saying the same thing for 4 years.
4 years.
A lot of reporters called me and asked me to react to the news of the pardon. What more do you want me to say? What can I say differently that I haven't been saying for 4 years?
Nobody cares. Nothing.
His supporters, his encouragers, his enablers in Congress
don't care.
Didn't say anything. When Donald Trump told you exactly what he was going to do.
He did. That's why we voted for him.
Sure, it lies with Donald Trump. It lies with, absolutely. But I think I'm more upset at the people who are more surprised now, shocked now that Donald Trump did what he said he was going to do.
I'm more upset. Harry Dunn says, I'm more upset with the people that are surprised and shocked now, that are feigning like they're surprised and shocked when Donald Trump did what he said he was going to do. What's wrong with you people? I mean, he did what he said he was going to do. He got 76 million people to vote for him to do what he said that he was going to do, and then he did it. I mean, what's wrong with you people? Harry Dunn wants to know what's wrong with you people.
It lies with, absolutely. But I think I'm more upset at the people who are more surprised now and shocked now that Donald Trump did what he said he was going to do from the start.
He said it.
Christopher Wray called these individuals domestic terrorists.
That's a lie. I don't think Christopher Wray said that. He said that. I actually have the clip. I don't have it. Where he said that these people are people that you could call domestic terrorists, but he didn't call them domestic terrorists. That's a lie. This is Chris Murphy, Senator Chris Murphy on the Senate floor, and I'm going to show you why the 76 million people that plus 76 plus million people that voted for Donald Trump to do this. Why that the January 6th rhetoric and calling him a domestic, or calling Donald Trump a threat to democracy and all that stuff, why it didn't work, and why 76 plus Americans didn't care what you guys said about January 6th. They're sick and tired of hearing about January 6th and voted for Donald Trump, despite all of the things and narratives that you're saying about January 6th. I'm going to show you why none of this is resonating with the American people, and the people don't care, because the American people don't trust you. They see you people like Chris Murphy here as dishonest. We see you as only telling half of the story about January 6th, and the parts that don't support your narratives, you hide those. You don't show that video to the people. You don't show the video of the Capitol Police opening the doors for people, letting people in the Capitol, taking them on tours of the Capitol. You don't show that stuff. All you show is the one piece of video outside where there were confrontations with the Capitol Police. But there were other areas of the Capitol where the Capitol Police were letting people in. They were giving them tours and stuff. You don't show any of that. And the people, the American people, the 76 million plus American people that voted for Donald Trump, they see through you, and they see through things like this. Listen to Chris Murphy here tell these lies.
This is David Dempsey. He gave an interview in front of the gallows.
In front of the gallows, okay? So he's using the gallows again as part of these themes to tell these lies. They brought out the gallows. Nobody even knows where the gallows came from. Nobody knows who set up these gallows, this art. It says this is art on it right here. This is not a real gallows. This was something that was set up. There's a lot of speculation that some FBI agents are the ones who actually set this up in the morning of January 6th before anybody got there. Before anybody got to the Capitol, this gallows was already set up. This is art, and this is the gallows that Chris Murphy is still making reference to and trying to use to dramatize his narrative when nobody cares about this, Chris Murphy. Nobody cares, but he's using it to dramatize this, to pull on people's emotions and say, oh, they set up these gallows. They wanted to hang people. And this is why people don't take you serious. This is why Donald Trump won despite all of these lies and narratives that you guys are trying to create around January 6th.
David Dempsey. He gave an interview in front of the gallows that had been built and fitted with a noose.
Who built it?
He said
that had been built and fitted with the noose. That had been built and fitted. This is a noose, people? Who are you going to hang on this? It says right there on the side, Chris Murphy, that this is art. This is not a gallows. This is some prop that was set up so you can use it for your narrative. And the American people are hip to that. The American people know that. The American people see right through that. That's why we voted for Trump despite all of these narratives that you guys tried to use before the election. You tried to use these same narratives before the election and you lost. And then now that Donald Trump has done what he said he was going to do, you're still using the narratives? Why do you think people are going to care more after the election if they didn't care before the election about these narratives? What's wrong with you people?
he gave an interview in front of the gallows that had been built and fitted with a noose. He said he was at the Capitol that day, January 6th, because Nancy Pelosi, James Comey, the Obamas, and the Clintons need to hang.
Listen to him.
At the Capitol, he climbed to the front of the mob and immediately began attacking law enforcement officers who were trying to protect us.
Yeah, if they were trying to protect you, buddy, they would have put up the fence. They would have put up the fence before January 6th instead of after January 6th. They left the fence up for 6 months after January 6th. Talk about fixing the barn door when the horses are already running free. They put up the fencing around the Capitol after the riot, left the fencing up for 6 months. If they were trying to protect you, they would have put the fence up before. If they were trying to protect you, Chris Murphy, they would have used their most sophisticated tools for crowd control, which they were ordered not to use. So this drama that you're trying to use now, I mean, where do you think this is going to get you? It didn't make Kamala Harris president of the United States. It didn't work in the election. I mean, what's the purpose of it now? What do you think these narratives and telling these stories are going to do now after the election when Donald Trump already ran on this as a platform to pardon these people and he won? He won big. Kamala Harris didn't win a single swing state, not a single swing state. Donald Trump not only won every swing state, he won the popular vote. So, I mean, what's the purpose of this, Chris Murphy? Explain this to me. What's the purpose of you telling these lies about the gallows when we already got to the truth about the gallows? This was in a congressional hearing just a few months ago when Christopher Wray testified and Congressman Massey asked Christopher Wray specifically about the gallows that Chris Murphy is now on the Senate floor trying to dramatize and use in his narrative when we already got to the truth about the gallows. There were no gallows, buddy.
And now I want to talk about another possible assassination attempt. And I'll start by showing a video of President Biden. And this is from recently. This is in the last month, if we can play that.
Gallows erected to hang the Vice President, Mike Pence. I think it's fair to say it's one of the darkest days in the history of America.
Okay, and he's referring to January 6th. Were there gallows erected to hang Mike Pence, as the president says here?
I'm not aware of any physical gallows. I can't remember whether, from a demonstration perspective, there may not have been some kind of replica or symbol of something like
art. That's a replica or symbol. I'm not aware of any official gallows, is what the director of the FBI says. That maybe there would have been some symbol. And who erected this, Chris Wray? Who erected this? Who put this up in the morning of January 6th, this piece of art that everybody's using, Joe Biden's using, Chris Murphy's using, the gallows. Nobody's buying this. Nobody's buying this. And you guys are still trying to tell this story. It's ridiculous. I swear.
America.
Okay. And he's referring to January 6th. Were there gallows erected to hang Mike Pence, as the president says here?
I'm not aware of any physical gallows. I can't remember whether, from a demonstration perspective, there may not have been some kind of replica or symbol of something like that.
That's my impression. Can we show? Can you raise that up so you can see it? It looks like there was some kind of prop that was built. The construction doesn't look like it lends itself to actually hanging somebody. It's more of a prop, I think, as you suggested, that was erected on January 6th. But if the president were correct that these gallows were erected to hang Mike Pence, that would be a very serious allegation, wouldn't it?
I would take it very seriously, yes.
Has anybody been arrested, or do you have any leads in conjunction with the erection of this gallows? We had a picture here on the screen, if you can show it again. It was just up there. There's an individual here who's seen near these gallows. Has he been arrested? Have you identified this person?
You know, I don't know that I could speak to this specific person or the gallows that are pictured on the image. You know, we have had, I think, 850 people who have pled guilty to federal crimes related to January 6th, and I think, another 180, I think it is, convicted at trials. I can't be sure.
And some of them merely for going into the Capitol, but here the president suggests that individual intended to hang Vice President Pence, which seems like kind of a wild claim myself, given the construction of those gallows. But if we are to take him seriously, or even if we aren't, let me just finish by saying this. If you have no leads, or you're not sure if anybody who erected those gallows was arrested or is being investigated, were there any confidential human sources involved from the FBI or any other agency in the erection of that prop, those gallows?
I'm not aware of anything like that.
I'm not aware. Yeah, they tracked people. They tracked the video, and they showed in the morning, even before the sun came up, it was dusk where the sun was getting ready to come up, and they were erecting these gallows before anybody was there. They have them on video, and then they tracked one of the individuals that were working on this construction of this piece of art, and that individual walked back to the FBI building. But Ray is not aware of anybody who erected these gallows. This is why nobody takes you seriously. This is why 76 million plus Americans voted for Donald Trump to pardon these people, because nobody buys the January 6th story. And now that Donald Trump have pardoned these people and done what he said that he's going to do, and now you people are crying, nobody is listening to you. Nobody cares about what you say, Christopher Murphy, because nobody trusts you. Nobody sees you as serious people. Nobody. This was Stuart Rose, and this was he's the founder of the Oath Keepers. His sentence was commuted. He was let out of jail, and he was asked there in front of the jail if he has any regrets. I want you to listen to what Stuart Rhodes says here.
Any regrets? No, I don't, because we did the right thing. We were there to protect Trump supporters from Antifa.
No, I don't. This is what Stuart, he's asked. Do you have any regrets? No, I don't, because we were doing the right thing. We were there to protect Trump supporters from Antifa, is what he says. Let's listen again.
No, I don't, because we did the right thing. We were there to protect Trump supporters from Antifa. We were there to protect and secure 2 permitted events on Capitol grounds where members of Congress were going to speak The guys that went inside, they're not committing the crimes. In fact, they help people. They help the police and help the people out.
So what Stuart Rose is saying here is he's absolutely right. Again, they want you to think that January 6th, the violence on January 6th just happened in a vacuum. It's just sprung up on January 6th. There was no violence in the months and the weeks, going all the way back to May before with the Black Lives Matter Summer of Love. This was on January 6th was, again, the third time in a matter of months that Trump supporters had come to Washington, D.C. They had come to Washington, D.C. for his acceptance speech for the nomination. They had come to protest another event. Every single time that Trump supporters had come to Washington in those months before or in those weeks before the election, and a couple of, at least one time after the election, they were set upon by Antifa, by Black Lives Matter. They were beaten in the streets. Rand Paul and his wife were attacked in the streets when they were leaving the White House from Donald Trump's acceptance speech, going back to their hotel. They were attacked in the streets by Black Lives Matter and Antifa. The violence from Black Lives Matter and Antifa had swept the country in the entire summer of 2020, in the summer of love. And when Trump supporters came on January 6th, they were expecting the same treatment. They were expecting Antifa to show up there and attack them, and Black Lives Matter to attack them, and for there to be violence, just like there had been on the previous times that Trump supporters had come to Washington, and throughout the entire summer when people were being attacked. January 6th and the violence in January 6th didn't happen in a vacuum and didn't just spring up out of nowhere. There were months of violence, months of property damage that had taken place. How many of those people were arrested? How many times did they attack police officers? Do you care about any of those police officers, or just the Capitol police officers on January 6th that you care about? You people are hypocrites. You're hypocrites. You have no credibility. And that's why Donald Trump won, despite all these narratives about January 6th that you told before the election. And now that you are still screaming and using the same narratives after the election, what do you expect to achieve? Wait, if people didn't care before the election, why do you think they're going to care now? This is how Donald Trump started out his political career when he won in 2017. This was on the day that Donald Trump was inaugurated in Washington in 2017. This was all the violence from all of the from the left wing Antifa mobs that the Democrats were using to disrupt his inauguration and to disrupt the country, and to have Antifa as their military force that they were using, that the Democrats were using Antifa to set these violence and to disrupt Donald Trump's presidency. This is how his presidency started on January 20th, 2017. All this violence, all of these police officers being attacked. Democrats didn't care. You didn't hear anything about, Antifa's attacking the Metro Police there in Washington. Democrats are, no, you didn't hear any of that. Now they're clutching their pearls.
Burning cars and smashed windows. A small group of protesters dressed in black. Their faces
Small group of protesters. Look at how big this group of Antifa is. The Democrats' army that they were using.
Dressed in black, their faces covered, armed with hammers and bricks. Facing off with thousands of officers on site.
Facing off with thousands of officers. Were any of these officers hurt? Were any of these officers wounded by the Democrats' Antifa armies there? Do you even care? You're clutching your pearls now about Capitol Police and what happened on January 6th, but how many of these people got arrested? How many of these people spent time in jail for the violence that they committed at Trump's inauguration? None. I mean, very few.
Faces covered, armed with hammers and bricks.
Hammers and bricks.
Facing off with thousands of officers on site.
Facing off with officers with hammers and bricks. Okay. This is the Democrats' army. Okay. Hammers and bricks facing off against officers. I mean, where you at, Fanone? Where you at, Dunn? You guys don't care about the Metro Police and the DC Police that had to face off with hammers and bricks with the Antifa mobs that were setting the city on fire and destroying property? And man, you guys didn't care about this?
Facing off with thousands of officers on site, many in riot gear, confronting them with flashbang grenades and pepper spray.
All of a sudden, the police officers started to spray pepper spray, and they got our audio technician. They're going to see us running because they're going to throw more flashbangs.
The chaotic scene just blocks outside the secure area of the inauguration and parade route.
I personally have anti-establishment slants, but I don't think that this is anything that I want.
I challenge anyone. I dare you to send me a video of a single Democrat condemning this, of a single Democrat saying we shouldn't be doing this, of a single Democrat saying this is wrong. We shouldn't be attacking the police. We shouldn't be destroying property. We shouldn't be setting fires at Donald Trump's inauguration. We should be having a peaceful transfer of power. I challenge you to find me one. Find me one Democrat. I challenge you.
This checkpoint is closed!
Before the swearing-in ceremony even began, protesters tried to block checkpoint entrances.
It's closed!
During President Trump's speech, several demonstrators were escorted out of the area. Several officers injured during the protest today.
Several officers injured during the protest today. I challenge you. Find me one Democrat that condemned this, that condemned the officers that were injured during this riotous protest that took place on Trump's inauguration in January 2017.
During President Trump's speech, several demonstrators were escorted out of the area. Several officers injured during the protest today, and more than 100 people arrested.
More than 100 people arrested. Okay, what happened with those 100 people that were arrested? How long did they stay in jail? What were their sentences? Do you know? Do you know how long that these people, the 100 people that were arrested, they got in jail? Did they get the same amount of time that the January 6 people got? Did they get the book thrown at them the way the January 6 people did? Did they have evidence against them that was kept from them? Did they get the same treatment? These 100 people that were arrested at January 6th, January 20th, 2017 on Trump's inauguration. Do you even know? Do you even care?
Arrested. Once the inaugural parade began, the newly sworn-in president facing thousands of peaceful protesters amongst his supporters. NBC's Stephanie Gosk was with him all day.
When Donald Trump took the oath of office, the people here sang, "We shall overcome."
Resist from day one!
Similar demonstrations across the country. Arrest outside Trump Tower, New York City. A human chain across San Francisco's Golden Gate Bridge. From Phoenix to Houston to Chicago, people protesting the country's new president on his first day in office.
First day.
Thousands of protesters remain in downtown D.C., occasionally facing off with police.
Protesters facing off with police.
In downtown D.C., occasionally facing off with police. We have seen many people injured, both protesters and police officers.
We have seen many people injured, both protesters and police officers. Show me one Democrat that condemned this. Show me one Democrat that says that police officers shouldn't be getting hurt. What about these police officers that were being attacked, trying to protect Trump's inauguration? No, you won't find one. And you people are hypocrites. And this is why nobody cares. This is what happened. George Floyd's Summer of Love. This is 2020. Started in May of 2020. Take a listen. This is in Minneapolis.
I end up on the phone with the assistant chief. He's like, so our plan is we're going to take all the squad cars and everything around and make the precinct look abandoned. And if no one's there, it shouldn't be a target. And I'm literally just staring at the phone like, how is this the plan? Like, There's thousands of protesters. There's thousands of rioters. They have dead pigs in front of us.
Dead pigs.
That signifies
dead pigs. They have dead pigs in front of them there in Minneapolis. Show me one Democrat that condemned this. Show me one Democrat that say we shouldn't be doing this. Show me one Democrat that says this is wrong, that we have to protect the police. No.
They will kill a cop.
We were tasked to go down to the precinct to remove all of the shotguns and patrol rifles and ammunition from the precinct. When I got down there, you would swear it was kids moving out of college dormitory because there was moving trucks and everything out back, literally emptying out the precinct.
People were showing up at the precinct, gathering their things. So they'd come through the fence, get let in, go to the locker, grab their stuff, and walk out. I was like, where are you going? Oh, I'm just coming to get my stuff in case they give away the precinct. Like, it's got our museum stuff. Pretty soon, 2 vans showed up and cleaned out.
They gave up the whole precincts to the violent mob. The whole precinct
are on the wall supposed to be for eternity.
So you're a lieutenant in this building, and you don't even know that the plan is to surrender it later in the evening?
No, not even a clue. As they were like cleaning things out, they took all the cameras out because they didn't want the rioters to break them. We're now in a precinct with boarded up windows. I could tell what was going on outside. I couldn't see it, but you could hear it. You could tell. I knew there were fires. The radio traffic was completely insane. It was fire after fire after fire. The whole city was
fire after fire after fire. This is happening in Tim Walz's most populous city.
Copy. U.S. Bank at 28th and Lake appears to be on fire. Copy. Large fire east of the 3rd precinct, 2118.
I was shocked. I said, no way, no fucking way. And the city's not that stupid. They're not going to do that. You can't just give up a precinct. I did not think anybody in their right mind would think it would be a good tactical move to give up a precinct.
I made the decision to evacuate the 3rd precinct.
So they gave up.
You get word that
they gave up the precinct. There's tons of violence. The violent mob destroyed the precincts. There was tons of violence there and looting and setting fires there in Minneapolis. It's how the George Floyd Summer of Love started there in Minneapolis, but it quickly spread like a cancer throughout all of the country in the summer of 2020 and the George Floyd Summer of Love. And then they went from there in May. They went from Minneapolis to immediately to the White House. Like it was a setup. Like what the hell does Donald Trump have to do with what happened to George Floyd in Minneapolis? But it was like a plan. This is an election year. We're going to the White House because we're taking the violence to the White House because this is an election year. We want to demonize Trump. We want to make this about Trump. So then they go to the White House and they start committing violence and attacking the police and facing off with the police and violence there at the White House. Trump has to be rushed to his underground bunker there in the White House because they're attacking the White House. You know how bad the violence has to be for the Secret Service to say to the President of the United States, we're taking you to your underground bunker? But did you hear any Democrats say, no, this is wrong? No, we shouldn't be attacking the White House. No, we shouldn't be doing this. No, we shouldn't be attacking the police officers. No, they laughed at him. They called him Bunker Boy. They laughed at the Antifa people were attacking the White House. They supported them attacking the White House, and now they're clutching their pearls. This is why you people have no credibility. This is why nobody trusts you. And this is why people supported Donald Trump and still support him when he pardoned and commuted the sentences of people that participated in January 6th. Look at this. The Democrats don't care about these police officers. The Democrats don't care about these police officers and their safety. They don't. They only care about the January 6th and Capitol police officers. Those are the only police officers that matter, is the January 6th police officers. But these police officers that were protecting the White House just a few months before January 6th, no, they don't care about them. Look at this. Look at this. This is why you guys have no credibility. This is why nobody cares about January 6th.
That's what we're working on. You handle the eyes, I'll handle the... I only got like a... Back off!
You can't find me one Democrat that came out and said this is wrong, that don't do this, that we shouldn't be doing this.
But we've suffered a humongous amount of damage.
We've suffered an enormous amount of damage. It's Metro Police. We've suffered an enormous amount of damage, is what he says.
Amount of damage and a humongous. But we've suffered a humongous amount of damage.
Humongous amount of damage.
Tremendous amount of loss.
Tremendous.
Of businesses that are struggling in the worst pandemic in 100 years.
No Democrat condemned this. Kamala Harris was raising money to get these people out of jail. She's raising money for them. You clowns. They tried to set on this night when Donald Trump was rushed to his underground bunker. This is St. John's Church across from Lafayette Square. It's an Episcopal church. This is the church where the bishop that they set Donald Trump up so she could admonish him. This past week, she became the lesbian Episcopal bishop that went on all the media and the press after they set Donald Trump up, and she was criticizing them and asking them to show mercy and all this stuff. I mean, this woman is a deranged individual. The Episcopal Church is such a evil institution, I swear. But they tried to burn down her church the same night that Trump was rushed to the underground bunker. And instead of defending Donald Trump for protecting her church and not allowing them to burn it down, she defended the Black Lives Matter protesters and attacked Trump for saving her church. And quite frankly, Trump should have let them burn this church to the ground. He should have allowed them to burn this church to the ground because this woman is a demon.
St. John's Church, widely known as the Church of the Presidents, was used last night by the current commander-in-chief to make a statement. Shortly after authorities... This was the day after Donald Trump was rushed to his bunker. Donald Trump used force to clear the square, and then that's when he went over to St. John's Church and held up the Bible, basically in a statement of saying that I'm not going to allow these thugs to burn down St. John's Church. I'm not going to allow this. This is basically why he walked over with the Bible, and he was making a statement that I'm not going to allow them to do what they did. After authorities used force to clear the area of protesters, President Trump walked to the church from the White House and held up a Bible, that moment not sitting well with the bishop who oversees the church.
If he had come to St. John's because he wanted to pray,
I swear.
If he had come to St. John's
the Episcopal
to
Church
lament the
is
death of George Floyd.
This is the same lesbian bishop that was making all the controversy this week. She's been against Donald Trump going back to she's a liberal, she's a Democrat, and she brought politics into the church, but the Episcopal Church is an evil institution. It's part of the Church of England. And like I told you, the Puritans that came over that established Plymouth Rock and the Plymouth colony were religious separatists that were fleeing and wanted to separate from the Church of England. And we should have stayed separate from the Church of England because the Church of England is a demonic cesspool. And the evidence of the Church of England being a demonic cesspool is bishops like this. If you want to even call this woman a bishop, she's going to attack Donald Trump after he protects her church and doesn't allow the violent thugs to burn it down. This is why you people have no credibility.
Come to St. John's because he wanted to pray. If he had come to St. John's to lament the death of George Floyd and the grief that has been unleashed across our country, that would have been an appropriate use of the sacred symbol.
I'm not going to even say on my podcast what I really want to say about this woman. I can't even say what I want to say.
Across our country, that would have been an appropriate use of the sacred.
They tried to burn down your church, witch.
Across the park to the church, but he did none of those things.
Just one night earlier, flames ripped through the lower level of St. John's Church.
And as you can see, there's definitely a fire here.
The historic church set on fire by protesters is lucky to still be standing.
Was this the nursery that was just used on Sundays, or?
Yeah.
The next day, the rector, Robert Fisher, showed me what was left. A charred changing table.
And they burnt the nursery.
Toys.
They burnt, jeez. And she defends the thugs and that tried to burn down her church, that burnt the nursery, and attacks Donald Trump that saved her church. These people are sick. These people are sick. I want you to listen to this. I guess this is the Hispanic caucus and what this woman says about Donald Trump after the pardons this week and commutations.
Those people were criminally convicted, and Donald Trump didn't care a bit about safer communities when he released those who were convicted of beating the shit out of police officers. So don't come to us and talk about security and safer communities.
Yeah, they're all mad because ICE is doing ICE raids and they're going after, illegal immigrants that have criminal records. So that's what they're mad about. But and saying that Donald Trump doesn't care about the safety of community because he left these people out of jail that beat the shit out of police officers. What about the people that beat the shit out of police officers when Donald Trump was inaugurated in 2017? What about the people that beat the shit out of police officers in Minneapolis and George Floyd's Summer of Love started there? What about the people that beat the shit out of the police officers when they attacked the White House and Donald Trump had to be rushed to his underground bunker? They don't care about any of that. And that's why you guys don't have any credibility. These people that were arrested for January 6th and got the book thrown at them, nobody believes they got a fair trial in Washington, D.C. They didn't get a fair trial in Washington, D.C. Nobody believes that. They were treated very unfairly. And it's ridiculous. I want you to listen to this, man. I don't have very much time. I want you to listen to a little bit about how these prisoners were treated and how many of them they had to plead guilty. Because if they didn't plead guilty, they were going to get even more time. That they kept evidence for them. They tortured them. It is ridiculous the way these people are treated, and I'm so happy that Donald Trump pardoned them and got them out of this situation.
Families have lost everything. Their husbands, the fathers, the breadwinners have been taken from them and put in prison unlawfully for many years for the simplest of infractions.
You said this wasn't the first prison that your son was at. Can you talk to us about what they charged him with and why he was at another prison before coming here?
Sure. What they do is it's called diesel therapy, so you can't settle. So what they'll do is when they first picked my son up on January 16, 2021, they scooped him up and then they started taking him from prison to prison. Spent 202 days down in the bowels of the D.C. prison. The conditions there are so egregious. He was actually sifting water through a sock because there's so much rust in the bottom of that prison that you can't drink the water. And they would lay them on a cot. They had lights. This was like Vietnam, where they had lights on all the time. You had 2 blankets. They call them suicide blankets, and you just laid them on a basically a block, and you didn't even have a mattress. So and then what they do as soon as you start to get communications with your attorneys and your family, they scoop you up and they take you to another prison. And then so you'll be there for 2 weeks. You're usually a week to 2 weeks. You're in solitary, where they're transitioning you into the new prison. And then you're there for, maybe 3 to 5 months. They ship you out again. And there was a time that on 2 Christmases ago, we didn't know where he was for almost 3 weeks. How is that possible? How come you can't, call his family? Nobody knows where he's at. When you can't talk to your attorneys, you can't hardly even talk to your family, and you can't possibly, make a defense. And then when you do get your attorneys, you talk to your attorneys, and then they scoop you up and they move you to the prison. All your notes and stuff, they take. So they know exactly what your defense is. It's like playing cards with your opponent looking over your back, you're looking at your hand. It's impossible to win. What has happened under the Biden regime was so egregious, so anti-American, unconstitutional.
Absolutely.
They walked all over our Bill of Rights. Thank God President Trump came in here, because not just for our patriots and our families, but for all of America. Because
thank God.
If they didn't like you, they would do anything to shut you up. They tried to shut down my businesses. They had the local state agencies come after my companies. I got a bunch of companies like restaurants. And so
thank God for Donald Trump that he let these people out of jail. These people are sons, they're fathers, they are husbands, and they're good people. And these people were persecuted. They were political prisoners. And thank God Donald Trump came along and let these people out of jail. This is the guy you were just heard. This is his son. I was really impressed by him. His name is Jake Lang. Listen to him a little bit.
Truth, freedom, American justice, things that have been perverted, but things that are coming back. Is a moment of reclamation in America. It's truly a moment where we can gather together as one nation under God. This is a blessing moment. This is who got me through. This is what got me through. President Trump was an instrument of the man who wrote this book. He was an instrument of the man who wrote this book.
That's right, brother.
These are good people, man. I'm glad they're home. I'm glad that Trump kept his promise. Look at these people. I mean, kept from their children, kept from their families, persecuted. Yeah, I'm happy. Look at this. Yeah.
Daddy's home.
Daddy's home. Glad Daddy's home. I'm glad Daddy's home. So this is the last clip that I'll play, and this happened this week that Speaker Johnson has created a new subcommittee to look into January 6th. Out of all the things that have happened this week, this is the thing that I am most happy about. I think this is the best thing. I have been waiting for this, that they've created a real subcommittee. Because remember the January 6th committee, when they first put it together under Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi refused to let Republicans put the members that they wanted on the committee. So the Republicans just refused to participate. They took total control of the committee. It was a partisan committee. And remember, in the beginning, Republicans wanted to look at all of the violence and say, yeah, we will do a bipartisan committee that looks at January 6th. We will also want to look at Black Lives Matter. We also want to look at what happened in Minneapolis and Portland and all over the country during the George Floyd Summer of Love. Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats said, no, we're only going to look at January 6th, and we're only going to look at what Republicans did. So Republicans didn't take part in the January 6th committee. Now they all got pardons now from Biden, and Speaker Johnson is creating a new committee to get to the truth. I'm so excited about this because America has not gotten the truth about January 6th. And when they do, it's going to be explosive. Take a listen.
House Speaker Mike Johnson announced a new subcommittee to reinvestigate what happened on January 6th. He says the goal is to, quote...
He says reinvestigate. No, we're going to investigate it for the first time. It hasn't been investigated.
The new subcommittee to reinvestigate what happened on January 6th. He says the goal is to, quote, uncover the full truth that is owed to the American people. Now, Congress, already investigated the attack on the Capitol under former Speaker Nancy Pelosi. This new subcommittee will be led by Georgia Republican Barry Loudermilk. On Monday, President Trump pardoned everyone convicted of crimes in the Capitol attack.
So we're going to have a new subcommittee. We're going to get to the truth, and it is going to be great. It's going to be great. Can't wait for the truth to come out about January 6th. Thank you guys for listening. Hope you guys have a great weekend, and I'll see you on Monday.